Let's see just how good their security is. Aw, you guys forgot the latest kernel patch.
Hiding in the server. Cowardly. Even for you.
Says the guy frantically erasing his search history.
After all these years, you're still just an ignorant child.
True, but that's part of my charm, isn't it?
Alright gamers, you are listening to another episode of What You Gaming On, the video series where we start every episode by asking you, what are you gaming on? If you want to let me know what you are gaming on, what game you are playing, let me know in the comments of this video on any of my social media, or you can get me at my email, either at whatyougamingon@gmail.com or tradeguillotine@gmail.com, and tell me the game you've been playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. We don't have any submissions for this episode, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into what I've been gaming on, and it should be no surprise, it just came out, and I've been very vocally excited about this game, Spider Man for the PS4. This is a PS4 exclusive, and it's the first game of many, or expected to be many, or at least a good handful of games coming from Marvel. Now that, the MCU is such a big deal, Marvel is starting to go a little bit heavier into games. We've got the Spider Man PS4 that just came out. We've also got the mysterious Avengers project that's going on with Square Enix, who they teased a couple years ago, and then we haven't really heard anything else about it, which is pretty normal operating procedure for Square Enix. They let us know that they're working on it. Then a couple years later, we don't hear anything, and then they give a vague teaser of what they're working on. Then we don't hear anything for like a decade, and then surprise, here's the game. Square Enix definitely they take a long time. They take a long time to get a really good game out, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, but for right now, we don't know much about the Avengers project that they are working on, but it is something that's coming out. And I imagine that we'll probably start seeing a lot more Marvel superhero games coming out, but Spider Man 4 is the first in this assumed long list of games that we could be getting, and it's something that's been entertained and promoted for a while, so it's really exciting that we are finally getting it, and after playing it almost non-stop for the last few days, I have to say, it really is a solid game. It does a lot of things right. It does a lot of things really well, especially just capturing the essence that is Spider-Man. So first off, one of my favorite parts of the game so far is, of course, the cosmetics. As Spider-Man, you do get to wear a lot of the different suits. There are, of course, the suits that came with pre-orders of the game, which you get if you pre-ordered the game before it launched, which I did as late as I possibly could, because as much as I don't like the idea of pre-orders, I really wanted those cosmetic suits, and they're actually pretty cool. The three that came with the pre-orders was the Iron Spider outfit from Avengers Infinity War. This other, it's supposed to be like it's a suit that's theoretically supposed to make Spider-Man faster, and it's kind of like this armor, which I don't love because the back of it, the back logo that Spider-Man usually has on the back, it doesn't look as much like a spider as it does a cockroach, so I don't really like that one. And then, of course, there's the Spider-Punk outfit, which I'm not totally sure if that's one that Spider-Man has had in the comics or not, but I love it. It's not so much silly, it's just, it's very unique, and it has a lot of personality. Like, on the top of Spider-Man's mask, it has like these little spikes, kind of like a metal head, like kind of like a metalhead helmet kind of thing, and it's wearing this jean jacket with a bunch of pins on it. On the back, there's the Spider-Man logo, and then it has the up, down, left, right kind of logo, where it's like F for friendly, below it is N for neighborhood, left is Spider, and then right is man. And I just like and it also has Chucks. Like, he's running around in red Spider-Man Converse Chucks, and I really like it. So it's the one I've been wearing probably the most, but you do unlock, as the game goes on, you unlock a lot of other different suits, one of which is the Spider-Man outfit from Spider-Man Homecoming, and just other outfits, I'm guessing, from the comics, or maybe there's some that are originally made for this game, but they look really cool, and I'm always changing which Spider-Man outfit I'm wearing, trying to decide what I like from it. But another big point of, I wouldn't say exactly contention, but a point of discussion is the new look for Spider-Man has in just his basic outfit. It's very similar to the original Spider-Man outfit, except it has a lot more white to it. Like the spider is white, the gloves and feet are white. For whatever reason, it's different. It's something we've never seen before. It's not it's not a complete radical change from the Spider-Man look, but it does look different, and I do think it actually looks pretty cool. But one of the biggest things that I've said about this game as we were gearing up to get Spider-Man for the PS4, one of my biggest comments was how glad I was that we were going to finally start getting some really quality video games from Marvel that could stand up to Batman Arkham Knight. Now, we do have some Marvel video games that have come out in the past. We've got Deadpool, which is one of the ones that came out, 3 or 4 years ago. We've also got the Lego Marvel video games, which I think, as childish as they are super fun. But none of them have ever, in my opinion, really been able to stand up to the quality of gameplay and storytelling of the Batman Arkham series. So I was really excited with Spider-Man PS4 coming out by Insomnia that this might finally be our Marvel game that can really stand up next to the DC video games. And while it does, the thing that I wasn't expecting from it is that not only does it stand right up next to the quality of gameplay and storytelling of Batman Arkham, it is pretty much exactly like Batman Arkham in almost every way. Let me explain. Now, of course, Spider-Man and Batman, they're two heroes who, standing next to each other, I can't imagine many other heroes that could be more different from each other, aside from them both being orphans and taking their superhero persona after a classically scary animal, spiders and bats. They're very different. Spider-Man is very upbeat, he's very bright, he's very optimistic, he's very hopeful, he's very silly, he's got a lot of puns and jokes, and he's a lot of fun. Whereas Batman, on the other hand, is very dark and very brooding and very serious and very lost and forlorn, and that works for Batman. But they are very, very different people, especially Spider-Man is always broke. Bruce Wayne has every dollar in the world. He's the richest, one of the richest people in DC Universe. Like, he has all this money where Spider-Man has none. So yes, they are very different characters, but the games themselves between Spider-Man PS4 and the Arkham series are incredibly similar, right just down to the gameplay. So playing through Spider-Man, you have your main missions that you get to go on, but then you also have side missions. The city is very open. The New York City is very open. While just like in Batman Arkham series, where you had Batman Arkham Asylum, then City, and then the Arkham Knight, which was just all of Gotham City, or as much of Gotham City as you could get. The gameplay and fight mechanics are almost copy and paste directly the same thing as Batman Arkham, although you could argue that the Batman Arkham fighting mechanics aren't anything unique to Batman Arkham. They're very similar to Assassin's Creed, but the similarity is there between Spider-Man and Batman, to the point that when I'm playing and fighting as Spider-Man, I often feel like I'm playing Batman Arkham and I press the wrong button, like in Batman Arkham. Your dodge button, you're basically the button that you press to dodge a reaction from another character, from another fighter, an NPC, is Y, and that's what you press. Well, for Spider-Man, it's the circle button, so that's different. But they do the same thing. But often when I'm playing Spider-Man, just out of habit from playing Batman Arkham, I press on the PlayStation controller, it's the triangle button. I press the triangle button because I'm so used to playing that as in the Batman Arkham series. But everything else, very similar. Even the way they get around, not including the Batmobile in Batman Arkham Knight, but just like getting around in Batman Arkham, you're basically gliding and grapple hooking onto surfaces to pull you up and shoot and fly even further. You practically do the same thing with Spider-Man. You shoot your web that lets you swing and pull yourself further until you can get to another surface and then just rinse and repeat. even the mini games, like, and not so much mini games, but like the smaller things, like in Batman Arkham, you would have to find the unlock frequency to unlock this thing, or any of the kind of scientific or an analytic things that Batman would do to figure out something in a crime scene. In the Batman Arkham series, it's practically the same stuff in Spider Man PS4. Even one of the video games is actually exactly alike, where you're trying to like match the frequency on both sides of the mini game until you finally match the frequency and you unlock what you need to unlock. Now, of course, like I said, with the fighting mechanics, these things aren't entirely unique to Batman Arkham Asylum or the Arkham series. That you see these things in a lot of different video games. It's just really funny that it really feels like Insomnia was approached to make a Marvel superhero game. They chose to do Spider-Man, and they were like, okay, we need to make a good superhero game. So what's some good superhero games? Ooh, Batman Arkham series. And I mean, if you're gonna copy off of a game series that is very successful, you could do worse than copying off of the Batman Arkham series. It really is. It's a great game. So taking inspiration, or even just trying to, recreate some of the best parts of the Arkham series in Spider-Man, there are worse things they could have copied, but it really feels like that meme where Insomnia was like, hey, Rocksteady Studios, can we copy your homework? And Rocksteady Studios says, yeah, just change it up a bit just so it's not an obvious copy, and they give you Spider Man PS4. Just so much of the game is just exactly like the Arkham series. Now, when I'm saying this, I don't want to say that this is a bad thing. That we could argue that Spider-Man PS4, aside from being Spider-Man, is an unoriginal game, that it's not giving us anything new. This is all stuff we've seen before, even using Peter Parker, who, even if you don't like the Marvel movies or like Marvel comics, you probably know Spider-Man's origin story. So it's something that we've seen before. We're seeing Peter Parker before. So just so much of it is, if not unoriginal, it's not new. But there are a couple of things that I do think that at least stand out as something new, or at least something fresh that we haven't seen in other games or other incarnations of Spider-Man's, or in another Spider-Man game, which we haven't had a Spider-Man game since I think the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 games for the PlayStation 2 way back in the day, like when Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man. And so there are a few things that are cool. So one thing, and this is something I've had just a lot of fun with while I'm exploring New York City, which their recreation of New York City, not that I know New York City like the back of my hand, seems very up to scale. It seems very authentic. It seems like really is New York City. Of the landmarks I've personally seen of New York, it feels like Insomniac Studios got it right. Like, I haven't seen a really good representation of New York like this since The Division, which, again, The Division did a great job. Ubisoft and The Division did a great job of recreating New York for The Division, and Insomniac Games did a great job doing New York for Spider-Man, especially in this game when you can literally just go up or down to the tops of buildings, to the down below the streets. It's not all three islands of New York, but I think the central island, which I think is Manhattan, I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Manhattan. I mean, it's your playground. You can get on any top of building. You can get down on the streets. But something fun happens when you get down on the streets is you start hearing comments from the pedestrians that you're passing by. Some of them listen to J. Jonah Jameson's anti-Spider-Man TV show, and they agree with Jonah Jameson, and they trash talk Spider-Man. And some of them are like, hey, Spider-Man, I just saw this really shifty thing over here. Maybe you should go check it out. And your Spider-Man is like, okay, thanks, citizen. But then sometimes you'll meet a citizen on the street that's like, yeah, Spider-Man, you rock. And you can go up to them and you can high five them. And that is just like, when I discovered you could do that, I had so much fun with it. For an hour, I think I was just running along the streets of New York, high-fiving every single person I could. It was just so funny and so cool and so just naturally Spider-Man. Like, that really feels like something that Spider-Man would do. It was just very personal. And it was just really cool. And I even started to wonder what else can I do on the street? And I tried to go to a hot dog cart or a food cart. You can't get food from a food cart. Unfortunately, that isn't something you can do, but I tried, and I thought that would have been really cool, but that's not something you can do. Another really neat thing that I like is in the pause menu, or I guess the options menu, not the pause menu, the options menu where you can see your skills and your suits and your moves and all that stuff, is on the side of it, there's a Twitter feed of Spider Man, and Spider Man has his own Twitter account. It's NYC Wallcrawler, and he'll post stuff to it, and then he'll have other, his followers posting stuff to it, so every time you get to the menu, you get to see, what the other tweeters of New York are saying about Spider Man. And it's just a really cool thing. Also, this is something that Batman Arkham Knight has, but I think Spider Man PS4 does it really well, is a photo mode. Not only do you have the ability to set up your photos and do different filters and do different angles and all this other stuff, which that's pretty standard for most video game photo modes, but there's also a selfie mode in the photo mode for Spider-Man PS4, and I have been using it ridiculously. I haven't posted all of the ones I've taken onto my social media yet, but I have so many just on my on a Facebook album that I automatically upload them to a Facebook album. And there's already so many, and some of them look really cool. A lot of them are at different New York monuments. Some of them are at some very Marvel specific places, like Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, or the Avengers Tower, or Fogwell's Gym in Hell's Kitchen. I don't know that Harlem's Paradise would be in Harlem. I don't know if Harlem's Paradise is something specific to Luke Cage on Netflix or not, but I haven't found anything specific to Luke Cage in Harlem in Spider-Man PS4, but I do want to keep looking and see if I can find something that might stand out. But there are a lot of different Marvel locations that you can go and take selfies of, and it's just really cool. And you just take a Spider-Man selfie, and you can put these fun little stickers on the photo. It's probably one of my favorite uses of a photo mode I've seen a game do since probably Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn had a very fun photo mode where you could also do selfies and poses and stuff like that. So they do that really well. Also, I do want to mention, I don't know if this character is an original creation for Spider-Man PS4 or if he is someone in the comics, but the villain, or the big villain of Spider-Man PS4 is a villain called Mr. Negative. And he has this gang, and they're called the Demon Gang because they wear these, I think it's Japanese, I think they're demon masks from Japanese culture. And they're the big bad guys. It's someone new that I've never heard of. As someone who has not read nearly any of the comics, any of the Spider-Man comics, Mr. Negative is a character I've never heard of. I've never seen before. So while you do have other characters like Wilson Fisk, the Shocker, some of the, really classic Spider-Man villains, it is really great that we're getting someone that is at least not as known as some of the other Spider-Man villains. It's not like, Batman battling the Joker again, just battling the Joker over and over. We're getting a villain that if it is in the comics, it's one that hasn't hit pop culture yet. Not everyone knows about Mr. Negative if he is one of the bigger villains in Spider-Man. So I think that's a really great way to kind of do this. Even if you're a longtime Spider-Man fan or not, it's giving you something a little more fresh, a new character that you can really get to know a little bit better than some of just the same Spider-Man villains that we're so used to. But that is what I think of Spider-Man 4. I think it's a great game. I don't think it's a very original game, but I don't think that's a bad thing. It's still a lot of fun to play, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it and finding all of the little collectibles. Oh God, the amount of collectibles that are in this game, that I think just collecting those in each area has probably taken up most of my time. Just because you get the tokens, and you need those tokens to unlock your different suits. And of course, I'm a cosmetic gaming whore, and I want to collect all of the suits. So there are a lot of collectibles that you need to get to unlock these things, but I'm having a great time playing it. It really is just a really fun game. So let me know what you think of Spider Man for the PS4, if you like it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Let me know in the comments on this video or in my social media or at my email, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming episode of What You Gaming On. If you want to read any of my video game or Marvel TV show or movie reviews, go to www.treyguillotine.com and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Keep on gaming, gamers. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.